Ah! Ah! Holy crap. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. It is free refill. It's episode 43. Probably the latest start I've ever gotten to one of these. 7:31 p.m. Eastern. For those who need to know, normally this starts like 7 o'clock, but my neighbor had some issues getting a truck into the garage, so that was the whole thing. Got that up, taken care of. That's A. B, we had to find a place to park a trailer for other reasons. That doesn't matter. None of that matters. Matters is that free refill has started despite the late kickoff. And I really hope I got this right this time because I think I've got everything set up to where I may have vertical. I think it's there. Can't really tell. It doesn't look like it. It says so in my OBS, but you know what? I'm just glad that it's here. Holy crap! What a ridiculously a lot, just a lot. I'm trying to get it. You know what? It is what it is. I I don't even know. You're here. That's all that matters. Jay is in the building. Hey, what is up? Let me get your applause. Later than my date after prom. Honey, if you ever. Look, man. I did the best I could. I had to get here. But I'm here now. That's all that matters. I'm sorry I wasn't there before, but I'm here now. It's like a beginning / ending of a really sappy movie. I don't even know. I'm trying to get back into it. I had a long day at work. Finally able. I've got some stuff. I'm gonna keep like pretty broad tonight. I got like 2 major NFL things. Kind of do a round pack. Well, not so round pack NBA. It's gonna be way more general. It's not gonna be any kind of stuff I had in my phone that I needed to get out. Needed to get it all out. So we're getting it out now. Marcus is also here. Welcome in, Marcus. Showing up. Are you saying breathing like a black dude? Neighbor owes back. No, I didn't do that much, to be honest. But it was I had to hustle, get the we had to shovel out a driveway. Across. We had a combination of kitty litter and salt to get traction to get the truck up, and then we had to move. It's a whole thing. Got roads clear. Anyway, I just want to get into it. I got a lot of things to talk about. There was a headline, I think last week, that I did not get to do justice. Mostly because I kind of anticipated it was happening. I mean, it was building to it happening. I'm not going to say I called it. Building to it. Gotta lock in and collect my thoughts for this. Jim Schwartz, for those who do not know, former Browns defensive coordinator, has resigned. Coordinator Cleveland after the Todd Monken hire, which only makes this worse for the Browns because Todd Monken is particularly interested in Deshaun Diddy Watson, which I gotta tell you, from any perspective of any Cleveland Browns fan, I think you've got to be very much already disappointed with their offseason. I mean, not that the Browns are ever really exciting or entertaining, but I need to make a critical point here. I need to focus. Letting Jim Schwartz walk after this terrible kind of sloppily handled head coaching that felt incredibly mismanaged at every turn, that they end up settling really, let's be honest, for Monken, I think you may have hired Monken a couple years ago. You're probably not hiring Monken after the Ravens had this year with moving off of John Harbaugh. And the reason, remember, the Ravens moved off John Harbaugh in part because he refused to move off Monken. So now you're bringing in that guy that was a big part of John Harbaugh getting kicked out of Baltimore as your head coach. Your defensive coordinator doesn't like it. And in all fairness, kind of a good point. Your defensive coordinator's been the best part of your team. And it's not like Jim Schwartz, this is like his claim to fame. This is not like his only resume of showing he can coach the defensive side of the ball. I mean, he was with the Browns. He was the Eagles defensive coordinator when they won the Super Bowl back in 2017. So he's got experience being a good DC. So when that guy's the best part of your team and you don't even consider him as a head coach, and not only do you not even consider him, you hire one of the weakest head coaches on the board in Todd Monken, I think Schwartz was going to anticipate that as a backhand. Like he just got backhanded and has no reason to stay with an organization that's as bad as this Cleveland Browns team. I don't know what Cleveland's doing. Like, they're bringing in Monken, who's now interested in Deshaun Watson, which is crazy to me. I would be more interested in Dylan Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders, Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders splitting reps than I would be starting Deshaun Watson remotely or even wanting him on my roster. I just don't see the benefit to a guy that completely not only was banged up coming into Cleveland, but fell off the face of a cliff when here anyway. Like, the second he got here, it was just not the same guy. So, really, it just looks like a failure on all counts from the Cleveland Browns whatsoever. This was I think one of, in my opinion, I really do think it was the worst hire. I talked about this in my tier list video. This was the worst hire on the board because of the ramifications that it was going to have. And the fact that, let's be honest, Monken was not a highly sought after name in the first place. Like McCarthy, that coaching job has its own critical things, but at the very least, you could say there's people who actually kind of like the McCarthy hire. I don't think there's really a Browns fan that is really super hyped about Monken, considering he only got worse as an offensive coordinator at that spot. It just didn't really make it. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. It doesn't, and it shouldn't make sense to anybody else. It's an absurd. It's absurd. It's absurd is what it is. It doesn't make any sense. But I needed to get that one in because when I saw this, and I remember, like, I would just, like, this is, like, legit. When I saw this, and remember I wanted to talk about it, this is what I put in my notes. Jim Schwartz leaves the Browns after they hired Todd Monken. Holy-ish. Browns still find a way to remain poverty. Like, every single time they make these bone dry, like, and tell me right now, I still think Stefanski's a little overrated. I think he's going to succeed, and I wouldn't doubt if Falcons win the division next year, presuming Michael Penix pans out. Like, if Michael Penix plays well and Falcons win the division, all of a sudden Cleveland looks even worse by the day. Like, it's just one of those things, man. And it just doesn't change, and it certainly hasn't changed for them. So, just a shock all around. Shocking display of just, man, I don't even know. Truly, I don't. Oh my god. Just. Anyway, that's all I had. I want to get the Schwartz one off. I want to go through some kind of general NFL things. I have my thoughts on. I got the good old notes app here. Let me just go through. I'd seen a lot. We'll start with the one on the board, actually. Brian Callahan getting hired as, I believe, Giants offensive. Gross. Like, let me see. It may not actually happen. I'm not sure if he interviewed or if he got the job. Yeah, he's going to be the quarterbacks and passing game. So I guess not offensive. Offensive. Good God. What a what an overall disaster. I mean, that could be, because again, I'll say this. I think Callahan got his job with the Titans because he had one of the best quarterbacks and two of the best, like arguably the best receivers at the time. Burrow and Chase and Higgins. Going now to Tennessee, where he wasn't able to build up any sort of offensive, like his offense was just straight up offensive, Will Levis or Cam Ward. And now he's in this position where, well, okay, it's still terrible, right? Still awful in that regard. And now we're in this position of, I mean, really, what's he gonna do? What's his plan? What is the plan long term for Brian Callahan being the offense? Like, I just think it's a bad fit. Like, I think coming off of Cincinnati, the only reason he got hired because have Jamar, have Joe Burrow, got brought into essentially build a culture and replace Mike Vrabel of all people. We just saw in a Super. Now you're bringing him in to be an offensive coordinator or have some offensive say with the New York Giants. But, like, what does that matter? Like, I think they're good players, don't get me wrong. Like, I like Jackson Dart and Neighbors and Scadaboo. It's not on the same level as a Chase and a Higgins and a Burrow, and those guys still performed and played actually arguably better in 2024 without him as their OC. Like, there's levels. There's levels. I mean, I guess, yeah, Jake Browning had moments, but you can put in Brian Callahan as the reason behind that and not say T. Higgins or Jamar Chase. Like, let's be honest. We know why that Bengals offense is good. And it's not Zach Taylor, and it's not anybody he hires. It's the talent they have out there. So bringing in Brian Callahan for the Giants, I just think it's a bad move. I don't think it'll be detrimental, but I don't think they're going to benefit from having him. Really don't. I think he was riding the skis of the best wide receiver duo and a top 5 quarterback in the league than he was actually drawing up good plays. I don't know why he getting a job again so soon after what we saw in Tennessee was a disaster class. Now forget that. What we saw with the Titans was a disaster class. Mark is saying Mr. Mayo and coffee or Cam. I mean, it's got to be Cam Ward. I think Cam Ward has much more talent. And also, the thing is with Mr. Mayo and Coffee Man is that Mr. Mayo and Coffee Man didn't actively try to look like 2024 was like, people think JJ McCarthy's like, people like looked at JJ McCarthy. Wow, that's bad. Will Levis not only was bad, but was bad in the most hilarious ways possible. Like, J.J. McCarthy was just bad. It was only funny because he called himself 9. Will Levis was bad because every single week he made a play that I didn't think was physically possible to make to, like, lose a game. Like, you go back to 2020 where Titans could have genuinely been 2-0 if Will Levis was just not doing that. Not making these ridiculous, like, fumble backwards plays or tossing up one of the worst interceptions of all time. Like, they could have actually just been 2-0. Like, I'm not saying they would have had a good season, but like, that was absurd to be watching Will Levis be that bad in those. It was ridiculous. It made no sense to me at all. And I'm sitting there watching like, what? What is this? Why is this? What are we doing? Right? It just doesn't make sense. It didn't make sense at all. Jay saying it's the Giants. They hire a good coach, then bam, here comes the worst coordinators you'll ever see. Yeah, I mean, and listen, I still have the Giants having probably at least double their win total, like 8 wins. But listen, you gotta hire better coordinators than this. No, like Brian, there's nothing to suggest that Brian Callahan would come in and be a good offensive coach. I mean, pedigree even before Cincinnati. Like, do you want to know where he was before Cincinnati? As the offensive coordinator, he was the quarterback's coach with the Raiders. Like, Carr never got better. He started as a coaching. He started obviously a graduate assistant at UCLA. Actually played quarterback at UCLA. Was pretty much was like an offensive assistant for the Denver Broncos. I think that's where it started. They saw how good Denver's offense was like, whoa, guys, Brian Callahan guy, he might be special secret sauce. So they bring him into Detroit where he's the quarterback's coach, which I mean, fine. Stafford was good, but it's not like Stafford wasn't Stafford. Like you could argue he wasn't on that high of a level at that point. Then he goes to the Raiders for a year. Then we got the Bengals, which, by the way, like, again, he's not the reason. I think there's a pretty clear reason why the Bengals were good offensively. Then goes to Tennessee and his Giants. You have to understand, Brian Callahan was 4-19. He won 4 games. 4 out of 23 games. Not good. Bad. Let's listen to it. Not good. He also saying Jake Locker bailed on Tennessee time. Now he holy ace. He can still play. Yeah, man, Jake Locker. You know what? I would have thought of the quarterbacks to be the long-term backup in the NFL. It would have been Locker and not Gabbert. But Gabbert had some moments. I mean, he was never great. Don't get me wrong. But I remember like in 2015, there were like no Niners quarterbacks, and he was all that was left. And it wasn't good, but it was fine. It was Gabbert. It was good old Blaine Gabbert. And could you imagine that? Could you also, and I'm going to get into this later because I'm thinking about like quarterbacks that could turn gears, and I got my gear. Probably how I'm going to out. But could you imagine like the quarterbacks from 10 years ago? Like if they saw like what Darnold was doing and thought, man, that could have been me. Like Blaine Gabbert, Jake Locker, right? I mean, the resurgence, the QB resurgence could have happened for some guys. Oh my God. Like Sam Bradford. Crazy like that. Who else was in that 2011 class? Christian Ponder, Tim Tebow. Oh my gosh. I mean, just some I mean, imagine if that was possible, right? Like the way people could have thought about quarterbacks back then versus how they think about them like now. Like it was remotely this. Oh my gosh. Who else is on? Oh, this is kind of actually I'll save that for like the trade. I got some other things. Darrell Bevell brought in. I think he was Seattle's DC for a while. Came in, brought in as a defense associate for the Carolina Panthers. He was Miami for the last 4 years. Not DC. He was offensive coordinator. Russell Wilson back in 2012 too. I'm gonna say another weird one. So I saw this. And I wanted to bring it up real quick because I remember the days of Russ being able to moonball to Doug Baldwin. And part of me wonders, is Darrell Bevell good in 2026? Part of me is saying no, because being in Miami for 4 years basically feels like they relied on like Tyreek Hill deep ball. Like that was what their plan was. And it worked until, Tyreek kind of wasn't as fast. Like, not that he wasn't not fast, but definitely not the same level of player at a certain point. And I think now, definitely, I think the only real reason they're bringing him in, I'll be honest, is because they believe Bryce Young, the way, and I've seen it a couple times, he can move a little bit like Russ back in his heyday, but I don't think Bryce has the prettier pass. Like, I don't think Bryce throws a deep ball the way. Russ has more of a moonball shot. Whereas Bryce Young's deep ball is still relatively flat. Like even down the field passing, it's just not the same. I mean, maybe he can help him. Maybe Bevell can bring him, come in, bring in Bevell, bring in some tips. It's not the worst idea. Now that I'm even saying it, I'm kind of talking myself into it. You know what? I'm going to say it. Darrell Bevell might be a good hire. Because if he can get that kind of Russell Wilson-esque behavior into Bryce Young, like, Carolina Panthers could actually be going somewhere. Maybe. Sam Bradford, God, I thought he was going to be a star for years. Me too. And I remember that, when I really thought one of the most interesting things to me was the 2015 season. One of the teams that went into that season with such high expectation was Philadelphia Eagles, because they had traded for Sam Bradford. They moved off Nick Foles to go get Sam Bradford. For whatever reason, people thought he was like a hot ticket item still in the big 2015. And then they had signed DeMarco Murray to pair with Ryan Matthews. They had drafted Nelson Aguilar. They had to have gotten a big-time wide receiver, though. Was it? Maybe they didn't. They had Zach Ertz. I remember that. But they must have had some other wide receiver. Jordan Matthews, maybe, they were high on? I don't know. People thought the Eagles were like going to win the NFC. Kind of the idea, especially after 6 year before, missed the playoffs. Kelly, and then they lost to the you like that? They lost to that crew. What a bizarre. I mean, a lot of people were high on the Eagles. They just started 0-2, and then we're bad. One point had to start Mark Sanchez. I mean, I remember one point they got blown out. Like, they allowed 45 back-to-back weeks. Bucks in the line. Ferocious. Bad. My wife heard 2015 Eagles and left the room. That's crazy, Jay. Listen, they were a weird bunch. They should, you know what? They screwed around though. They brought DeMarco Murray into an East-West system. They brought DeMarco Murray into an offense that was like a sweep offense, a West Coast offense, and not like a downhill running offense. Like, why? What was the game plan? What was ever the game plan in 2015? Like, what was it? It was just putting together the best players. I mean, I get it. But like DeMarco, and then it was crazy. DeMarco got traded and then was immediately better in Tennessee because he was a downhill runner. I'm an avid believer in this. If Dallas holds on to DeMarco Murray, if Dallas just kept DeMarco and didn't let him leave, they would have been fine. It would have been fine. And I would argue in 2015, they would have made the playoffs despite the fact that Romo got hurt. Makes no sense. Annoys me this day. Jay also said Miami tactics was Arena League. Let's air it out, score points. And they couldn't even do that at a certain point, right? Like, they just couldn't do that after a certain point because it was like, oh, well, we don't got it like Tua don't got it like that no more. Like, it's just whoops. My bad on that. It ain't working. All right, there was something else too. I think there was something else in the NFL. Derek Carr has been hyping up a return. I believe there were rumors of this. I doubt it would happen. Apparently, he's considering a 26 return. Tired, of course, to the right situation. Derek Carr could return to the NFL. All right, let's think about this. Best landing spots for Derek Carr. First, Vikings. Vikings has to be the top one, right? Because you get probably the best. This might be a hot take. I would argue the best offensive coach Derek Carr maybe ever possibly have, with Kevin O'Connell. You get Justin Jefferson, right? Get kind of a two-head backfield. You'll still have a decent game. I don't think the Vikings will have get a good defense. Now, downside, it's tough division, but I think the Vikings are probably one of. I'm seeing that the Jets were an option. I don't know what that is. Don't do that. That's just going. Who would want to come out of retirement to play? Sorry. Listen, it's one thing to say, maybe you don't want to be drafted by the Jets. It's completely nothing to be like, I want to come out of retirement. No, you not. You don't want to do that. Now, if you're Derek Carr, you want to go to a place where you be a Sam Darnold-esque level of player and win a Super Bowl. By the way, I don't even think Derek Carr is at this point in his career, sadly. But Vikings remain an option. The next option to me that kind of is always the option is Indianapolis. Because they may not keep Daniel Jones. They were still able to be 8-1 with Daniel. You could play like that, and I think that is more reasonable versus them playing like Darnold and the way he was playing. Then the Colts could have some intrigue if they don't want to bring back Daniel Jones and pay him. The third option that really, to me, there is a third option. It's one I don't personally like, but there's a real chance the Steelers might consider it because this is just what Pittsburgh does. I mean, they brought in, first it was they moved off Kenny Pickett, they moved off Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. If they decide that they don't want to have Aaron Rodgers, or if Aaron Rodgers decides he doesn't want to give it another run, then you would go to Derek Carr. But again, I don't think that's nearly as good of a situation for Carr because there's just not nearly enough offensive help right now. And there's not remotely a way of realistically run with that roster. It's just not going to happen. I wouldn't think it would be. I don't think it makes any logical sense. I would personally, that to me is a little risky in that regard. Now, the funniest option for someone like Carr, to me, just the Raiders. And in all honesty, as funny as it is, there's a small sense of it's not impossible to suggest it. Just because, let's say a hypothetical. Let's say hypothetically, you don't want to throw Fernando Mendoza to the Wolves right away. You don't want him behind that offensive line. You don't want him getting banged up because listen, Ashton Ginty couldn't crack 1,000, and I mean he was getting tackled in the backfield every. What's to say it's going to be any better for Mendoza? Why not bring in a bridge like Derek Carr? Let him take a little bit of the beating if that's what he so chooses. That's not going to win him a championship. Raiders, Derek Carr wants to play again. But in all honesty, I think the best option by far is the Vikings. Second best is Colts. He's looking at the Jets. I really don't know why. I don't know why you would consider the Jets. Nothing about them suggests that they're a playoff team right now. I mean, yeah, they're going to have draft capital, but no, like even that draft capital is not going to make them contenders because they've had that draft capital before. Didn't make them contenders then. Not going to make them contenders now. Mark saying wife and kids are annoying, calling the Jets to see. Derek Carr like, hey, so like I gotta get away from the old ball and chain. You guys gotta, you guys can, you guys getting rid of Justin Fields, right? Up a spot, come on, let me in, let me at it. I can show I still got it. And Jay saying, man, it seems like I paid more on getting Kenny Pickett cards. Great. There's a very real chance that is the exact case, Jay. I would almost argue it's 100%. Because we don't pay that guy. That guy, I don't think he on the payroll anymore. I don't think he is. Well, he definitely wasn't on the payroll because he got traded. But I mean, I don't even know. He's not on anybody's payroll as far as I'm concerned. 2020. Yeah, he's free agent. Free agent Kenny. Poor guy. And listen, the thing is about Kenny is that he was never going to be. I don't think he was ever going to be great. I think if I ever thought that, I was just. But like, dude just had no. Like, he was a little more athletic than your average guy. But like, name the trait that Kenny had. Hey, like, it wasn't arm strength. It wasn't hand size. It wasn't QB size. It was what, like, he move a little. That was like he did like the fake slide thing, and I think that got him the most clout on it. Trying to see if there's or NFL wise rather. Oh, before we get into NBA stuff, the big thing I was gonna say. The Pittsburgh Steelers, well, not them, but rather the mock drafts that are going. Field Yates does his mock drafts, right? And of course, he's talking about the Steelers could potentially look at Ty Simpson as their QB. He has them taking Ty Simpson. The analysis that I have of Ty, I think everybody really has this of Ty, is that it really just doesn't. First of all, number one, I got a problem with Bama quarterbacks, and I think everybody does based on the last several, years in, sports and seeing all of this. Like, for example, if we're looking at, say, Mac Jones or Tua, right? Or even like AJ McCarron. Well, AJ McCarron. But you get my point. Like, there is a clear notion, kind of disdain of Bama quarterbacks and the value of them. And I think Ty Simpson's value was basically peaked around like the midpoint of the season, where he had the incredible TD to INT ratio, was playing incredibly well, and then the back half of the season just wasn't the same guy. And now that can be fixed. I mean, obviously there's some hidden bright spots, and if you let him rest a year, learn behind a vet, I could see it where I might want it, but it just doesn't feel nearly as much of a slam dunk for a rookie as picking in the first round. You're not going to get a slam dunk pick picking in like the late teens, early 20s. But if we're really looking at it, is it worth it to take Simpson now? Because there's no, it's tough. Because normally, like, if you suggested, like, well, the same logic you wouldn't take for Caleb Williams. Like, logic I'm trying to use here is, why take a quarterback that you know is ill-prepared when you don't have the offensive weapons? But, like, you could argue the Bears did that a couple years ago when they drafted Caleb. They didn't have the right defensive coach. They were missing running game. They were missing help him. The problem is with someone like Simpson, he's just not as talented. How much are you willing to invest in both your draft spot of where you're taking him, but also the time it would take to develop him to even be, say, top 15, to want Ty Simpson as the guy? I have an issue with putting all of that emphasis on a QB, because they did that with Pickett. They really did it with Pickett and expected Kenny Pickett to be ready to go much earlier. Clearly, he was not. Now, you could also argue it just wasn't a good quarterback to select. Do the same thing with Ty, right? You're ending up in the same position that you did earlier. You didn't allow for an offensive staff to be able to develop him. And to be honest, this is like the first time the Pittsburgh Steelers staff has really changed at all. Like, it's changed a lot. Like, there's Tomlin, obviously. Arthur Smith is out. Danny Smith is going to be out. Like, pretty much the whole staff is going to be a huge overhaul in what Pittsburgh's staff is looking like. Whether it's good or bad, I don't know. Maybe. But the best thing you can hope for is you really need to get, as much as quarterback is in need, everything else on that offense is still need a little bit more depth on the offensive line, because with that, when Broderick Jones went down, there was just no time on the left side. When you're looking at the receiving, once DK Metcalf being suspended, there was hardly anyone to catch the football. There's too many tight ends, right? You need to go out and improve the offensive capabilities of the entire offensive roster, not just getting a quarterback. And a guy like Simpson, who is far from a slam dunk prospect and had a very frustrating second half of the season, just doesn't feel like the way to build up the offense. So, Field Yates, I get it. I get the need for a quarterback, but personally, I think they have much bigger needs. Gosh, you guys are blowing up the chat. Hold on, let me see. What if Derek said, I'm coming out of retirement, but my 46-year-old brother has to back me up? You know what's funny? I think the only team that would say that is like the Jets. They'd be like, whatever, we'll just do this. I kind of do. That would be so. Oh my gosh, what do you think the mobility is for David Carr? What do you think the Madden stat is? Or 20, 22 maybe. Probably my age, actually. He's 24, because I just turned 24 yesterday. He'd probably be 24. That'd be a tribute to me. Marcus also saying that's it, going into Madden, turning Pickett in the. Look, I tried Madden. It didn't let me. It declined it from being possible. You can't go over like a 75 overall. It's not possible. Also, fake slide, which is now illegal. Yep, that was the main thing I feel like he got. It was very similar. It didn't have the same like appeal nationally, but it was kind of like when Zach Wilson hit that one big throw at the combine. Like, yeah, Kenny Pickett hit it in the game, but it's like it's not hard to. You could teach that. That's not like raw talent. At least with Zach Wilson and his deep ball throw, like yeah, he's got a big arm. Kenny just fake slid. A lot of people, you can learn that move. Very much coachable. We got a bot. What's up, Mystical Punch? Mark is saying, yeah, I'm waiting on that Phil White 7-round mock draft and signing prediction. All right, that's a lot. I'm gonna just call into work for like 3 days and just be like, all right, we're hitting the books. We're doing this right now. We're gonna do a full 7-round mock. Rookie free agent signings, here we go. You know what? I'll take a weekend. I'll take a full weekend and do that when we get towards the draft. They saying, "Oh, you didn't buy the book? Had the Phil White book sold more than Mel Kiper?" And Marcus going, "Who in the hell is Mel Kiper? Who in the hell is Mel Kiper anyway?" That was a good one, Marcus. I liked that. They even give you that one. Classic, man. We got Goob as well. Goob saying face again. I don't know why it doesn't. I guess I have to fix my chat because it doesn't pop up your emojis. It says face green smiling, so I have to predict what it looks like. Maybe I'll just look at what it looks like. Maybe I could look at what it looks like in the actual YouTube chat on. In the actual YouTube chat on YouTube, that is YouTube. Oh yeah, I see. Oh my gosh, that's actually not at all what I thought it would look like. It looks like a pickle. Looks like a pickle's going. Clip that. You can clip that. Say, nah, I had an idea for the next. Oh my gosh, you're just sending more, dude. I just see more now. What is this? Man, dude. Hey, we get it. We get it. You got your emojis there. Oh, wait. Jay also saying he has an idea for the next tier list. Gotta go funniest NFL player names, then the scariest NCAA mascot that Penn State one needs S tier. Oh, yeah. The old school. Do a tier list of the old school like logos and mascots. Because I remember we had done that for March Madness when we live streamed the whole thing. That'd be kind of sick. Gotta go funniest NFL player. That'll be. I got it, dude. Like you know what would actually be funny tier list? If you guys remember the Key and Peele sketch, ranking all of those names, like Osmataz Buckshank, First Steve Chattanooga, like I'll just do all those, or like put together a full squad, put them all in a draft class, see where they all get drafted. Every single one of them, ladies and gentlemen, every single one of them. We actually got 6 people in the chat right now. Dang, that's crazy. If you're liking the video, just give it a like and then. All right, I think that was it for NFL topics. Better like the video now, considering there's 6 of you. Rah! Gosh, my intrusive thoughts just. It's all right. That happens. Sometimes you gotta let the intrusive thoughts win. Like that Key and Peele, yeah, with the real NFL players. Yeah, like dude, we make a franchise of just Key and Peele team. Put them all together. Quarterback is A.A. Ron Rodgers. Like, come on. Running back Brad Smith. Why you? Brad Smith. Why you? or the kicker, Mark. Also make. Before I get into the NBA, there's actually kind of an NBA NFL headline. I think it was Puka Nacua. I think it was Puka Nacua talking about Giannis and Myles Garrett and basically because what was it? What did I even write? I wrote something. It would make sense because they're both great at what they do. Both one of the best of their. They both genuinely kind of want to leave their team, but then there's always like a new offer on the board. Like Myles Garrett's like, ooh, I'd love to be the highest paid defensive player of all time, right? Like, got Giannis going, oh yes, money. Like, oh yes, money. I'd love to be paid more. Like, it's crazy to me that at a certain point, both of these guys are making an insane amount of money, right? And then they like legit last year, Myles Garrett requests trade. Now all of a sudden, wait, hold on, we're pay you a lot of money. Like, make a choice. Do you want to make money or do you want to win? And clearly, Myles was pretty obvious when he said, "Oh yeah, I want to win." Right? Like he was just making serious. I want to win when he requests a trade. Then when you get paid, it's like, no, it was all about the money. Like, dude, and I feel like Giannis is the same way. And Giannis is trying to do this in a way where it's like he's not the bad guy. Whereas Myles just straight up requested trade. And which makes sense because now Giannis trying to do this thing where he's leaving, but he's not like trying to be the bad guy. Like, dude, you won that city a championship. You don't really, like, even if you left and wanted out, like, you don't really owe them much. You got them a championship, and now they've just, team isn't good anymore. Right? So, and it's really difficult for them to be good because he's a good enough player to keep them afloat, but they're never going to get to a championship because they're unable to draft with the picks that they do have. And as a result, now you're in a position where you have to move Giannis because you weren't able to build the roster around him when he was there. So now it's too bad, it's so sad, but that's the reality. And now Giannis has to go. I don't know where. He's obviously not getting traded now because we're way past the trade deadline. But Milwaukee did this to themselves. They didn't want to build up. They didn't want to improve the roster remotely. They were incapable of improving the roster remotely. And this is where we're at. And now the Bucks are just going to go back to being bad. Even more so now. Knicks getting Jeremy Sochan. And you know what, Jay? I respect that. Also being said, it's all about Jose Alvarado, apparently. The Jose Alvarado signing has been... In fact, I'll just switch over. Jose Alvarado thing is... I mean, just at the start. I mean, they went to Philly, won by 40-something? And Jose, I think, 5, 8, and 5, like, 30 minutes. I might not have all those numbers. He's just they just got another hustle guy in New York. Very impressive. And Marcus, so not like Bron, leave, win a ship, come back, win a ship. Yeah, because when Bron left Cleveland without a championship, went to a super team and won 2, and then came back and won 1. Like, LeBron was a villain. Giannis really, even if he wanted to, I don't think he can really be the villain because he's just, like, when you watch him in his interviews, he's majority genuine. I think it's hard to perceive athletes as sometimes genuine because they sometimes just aren't. Like, Mahomes is a perfect example of not always feeling genuine. And when you have, like, Giannis won them a championship. It's not like he's quitting on the team because, like, he can't do it. Like, he got them there. He got them to the promised land. That's just what it is. I don't know. Like, you think I'd be mad at Book? Like, I'm not mad at Book. Like, if Book requested a trade, I'd be sad, but I wouldn't be mad at Book. I feel like the whole point is that he's one of the most loyal players in the NBA. I would, at this point, if, like, it doesn't make sense to request it now, but if the season started and we had, like, 5-6 wins and he's playing incredibly well, yeah, then I would understand. I get that. All those fans who burnt jerseys had to buy a new one. I mean, for Giannis or for LeBron? People were burning Bucks jerseys? Okay, also, random topic. Why burn jerseys? I never understood that. I still own a Ben Simmons Philadelphia jersey. I'm not just going to burn stuff that I own. It's just weird. I spent money on it. Like, maybe I'd lend it to someone else or sell it, but burning it's just like, that never computed for me. I never computed burning it. Bron, okay. I was going to say, I didn't think people would be burning Giannis jerseys. Again, I still don't get the burning jerseys thing is weird to me. I mean, you spend money, you spent your hard-earned money on it. Like, you went to your job, you're like, I spend this money, like, especially, like, grown men, like, burning their jerseys. Brother, man, I still have my Antonio Brown jersey. You think I'm selling that? Absolutely not. Antonio Brown can do whatever he wants. I'm not getting rid of the jersey. I'm keeping it. Brown could do horrendous things, and I can be like, yeah, not good, but I'm keeping the jersey. Like, I don't think that's heinous to say. I spent my money on that. It's my property. I'm keeping it. I didn't burn Bell's jersey either. Like, I'm not gonna do it. Not gonna do it. NBA headlines. Let me rattle some off because I had to write a few. Number one, this was a while ago when I'd written this down, but the Hornets looking good right now. I mean, let me think about the Hornets because of the standings as well with the. Yeah, I think they're what? Yeah, they're sitting at the 9. They're sitting in play-in contention. They're not. They actually look like I think realistically, if you look at what Charlotte's doing, guys like Concanipple, I know Bridges has a suspension, but I mean, like, they're playing very well right now overall. Like, they're 9-1. They're gonna be. I don't think they'll beat a team like the Pistons, but like whoever gets the 2 seed, I would be kind of nervous. Like, I don't think they could go in Detroit and win, but I think if they were to somehow, like, let's say get to the 8, then get the 7 seed, that's genuinely like. That could be scary for whoever wins the. Because how confident do you feel in like Boston or New York or Toronto to be able to do things? I just don't know. Especially if Charlotte's able to fire as it is. I don't know. It's just it's far from impossible. I think it's fun just because it's nice to see that team actually be good. Like, as a fan of a team like the Suns, who's kind of, usually like a laughing stock in the NBA, it's nice to see like a team that is traditional laughing stock actually be good. He's saying, let's go to Browns. You know what's funny? Funny story. He performed at Rolling Loud like ago, and I wore his jersey. It was a bunch of because AB was there. I'm gonna tell you right now, it was so weird. He came out of a football. Like, he birthed himself out of a football. It was weird. It was a very bizarre. Was it good? The music debatably good, but him just it was high energy. I'm not gonna say the singing was good, but it was a high energy event. I enjoyed just. It's such a rare thing to see. Like, you saw Antonio Brown perform live. It's just not many people can. Like, I saw him perform on the field and on the mic. Like, I saw both. Oh. But I don't know. The Hornets are looking exciting. That was one thing I wanted to mention. The NBA trade deadline, I wasn't able to get into it last week, so getting into it a little bit now. There were a few things. Let's start Harden, Garland. I'll kind of like spitball a couple things. James Harden for Darius Garland just feels. I mean, it feels like if you're the Cavs, it's way more beneficial. If you're the Clippers, you're just getting Garland, hoping he puts up monster points, and then trading him for more than his value probably is. That would be my understanding. And then, like, the AD trade, like, dude, Wizards are going to be so confusing. Like, the Wizards look really bizarre with, like, Anthony Davis and Trae Young. It feels like a fever dream. And, by the way, Wizards pretty much won that trade. I mean, I think the Wizards won in both instances because the reality is you might not play them for long, but at the very least you have 2 headliners that can be somewhat interesting. Washington. It's not like you gave up anything really for Trae Young. And sure, AD's not going to play, but it's not like he was playing. You kind of knew that already. I think it was just more of Dallas wanted to move off Anthony Davis to officially forget the Luka Doncic era, or rather error that was made by, I won't say his name for Mavs fans. Yeah, they just wanted to move on. They wanted to move on, forget that that ever went down, that ever happened, and say, okay, we've moved on. We're now doing this. Let's roll. That's where they stand, and that's why they wanted to move off AD. What else? Oh, the main guys that I actually have up here that I want to talk about. So when Kuminga got traded, right? So Jonathan Kuminga got moved. This was really interesting because there was a lot of storylines that came out of this, right? So Kuminga's now a Hawk, and there were some weird stories coming out of this. Basically, how did this go? I have to remember reading it, and I put all my thoughts. So I think Steph came out and defended, but there was a lot of weird stuff coming out. So basically, there was like obviously tension between him and Kerr. That's why they're pictured here. There was certain tensions between the two. Kerr basically was trying to have Kuminga take responsibility and like step up, be the man, be the guy in that locker room to learn from guys like Steph Curry and to get better. And remember, at the start of the year, it looked like Kuminga was in for a year, and then his numbers drop, and then he got basically benched without it being stated out loud. Then you had Kuminga kind of feeling like Kerr didn't trust him. And then with Jimmy Butler going down, Steph being out, Draymond being out. What game was it? Did I write down the but I think there was a game where all those players were out, and then Kuminga was ruled out due to back soreness. And that was like the final straw where it's like, okay, you're unserious. But then Kuminga just goes around and says, you don't buy into me in the same sense. And on top of all this, apparently you got a family member of Jonathan Kuminga taking more food than allotted at lunch table. I'm sitting here and I'm really thinking, this feels like it's a Kuminga thing, right? Like, obviously you hear both sides, but the truth is this has got to be a Jonathan Kuminga. Because, number one, you're on the Golden State Warriors. You have one of the greatest shooters of all time, one of the best defenders of all time in Draymond Green, one of the best shooters in Curry. Like, you got some vets that you can learn from. And then, like, a guy who's as competitive as guys you can genuinely learn. Not to mention a coach who won multiple championships as a player with the Bulls and then as a coach with the Warriors. And I feel as a young guy who's looking to improve and get better, you shouldn't be like, oh, these guys doubt me. Like, no, they don't benefit from doubting you, right? They're trying to get you to play at a higher level. If you're Jonathan Kuminga, you should be leaning into these guys and telling, all right, clearly I need to step up and do more. Help me so I can get better and be an integral part of this team winning games, right? Not like pouting and sulking over like, oh my God, they don't believe in me. Like, dude, you got drafted. They picked you. Like, let's go. Get it together, right? And now he's gone. He's on the Hawks, and maybe he'll have a shot and maybe he'll figure it out. But like, the reality is, my guy, you got to lock in and work with the people that are around you. Like, getting into the Warriors organization is a blessing for a lot of young players, just based on who's in there and what you can learn from those guys. And based on the things you hear about Kuminga, it's like, it kind of feels like he took it for granted. Right? I would think, based on what everything kind of come out about the story, it kind of feels like, yeah, it would be a little bit taken for granted. And it's not. You can't take Steve Kerr of all people for granted. You can't take Steph Curry and Draymond for granted. And it feels almost similar-esque, not the same, but like almost a little similar to JP and Jordan Poole. With Kuminga, it's like worse. Could have been somebody, guy. Plus, everybody knows his. I'm not gonna say it because and the like. Can't say it. All that YouTube censorship and the like. That was the last thing about the NBA. Actually, I take it back. No, there is one more thing. So one more thing about the NBA. So obviously the big headline right now, All-Star. Really, the rampant tanking. I mean, you look at it's a tank race. You're looking at, look at the bottom. You've got Wizards are there, Pacers, Nets, Kings, Pelicans, Jazz, Mavs, Grizzlies. I mean, it's like 8 teams at least. And I mean, it's a problem because you've got just a bunch of teams that are uncompetitive. I mean, you had the Jazz pulling their starters in a game they were winning. There's a lot of people just talking about how bad this tanking is. There's actually a great video by Frank Michael Smith out on YouTube. Check him out. I a lot of his stuff. I think it's really well. He basically brings in, you got to stop these teams from tanking. You have to remove incentive for. Brings up 2 solutions. The first basically goes, you make every single team have an even. All 30 have an equal chance to get any pick, depending on who owns those drafts. The other idea, which was kind of crazy, I like it. It's like, it's interesting, but I don't think it works fundamentally, is instead of the draft, have players, like when rookies come in, they just sign with teams. To me, I don't like that because he explains why it wouldn't necessarily be the best teams, which I don't think would happen. I just think at a certain point, there's already too many issues with players signing now when creating big 3. I think it's also a lot of pressure to guys who are coming into contract years. Then pressure these young players into getting a bunch of agents. You pressure them into understanding contract knowledge very early. Like, obviously, they're going to get signed to a rookie deal, and they'll have to understand that. But to actually negotiate your own contract as a rookie, to have that agent at that kind of level, especially because payment-wise, that can very much change hands, and you can end up getting overinflated paying on rookies. Because the whole point is, rookies are not supposed to be making a massive bag in comparison to the best players, right? And then you're going to get teams into a bidding war that's just going to, leave them paying this young guy a bag of money that doesn't really work. I like the idea and concept. It doesn't really work. But there's a way. There is a way. And it has to do with that first concept. Instead of every single team has even chances of the lottery, just say anybody who has a lottery pick has an equal chance to get the number 1 pick. I think that's better than the entirety of the league. Because then you could get, the Thunder getting the number 1 pick, which is already possible, which is absurd. But, because, nobody really wants, a crazy, man, do the Knicks really need does a team like Detroit or San Antonio really need a number 1 overall pick? No. So the teams that have lottery picks just make it all even across the board. Because tanking is becoming rampant. It needs to stop. It needs to be pulled off. It can't be come on. We need to slow down tanking. Best way to do it, all lottery picks even. Result, there's no reason to lose more games than another tanking. They're all the same. Have all of them be the same, and you solve the problem. Then that way, there's no reason to not play your starters. There's no reason to your guys and let them go out and get either gay incentives or all-star incentives, your incentives, whatever, and then you're able to now have those guys play, earn revenue because your stars are actually playing and no one wants to watch backups, right? You have guys who are actually playing and every single week. That, to me, solves a huge problem because nobody wants to sit around and watch a third of the league just bench their starters because they want a better draft pick. Make it all equivalent, whether you have a lottery pick or not. I think that's a good start. It may not solve anything. It may not solve everything. That's the best way I could see going about it. It's a good start, but the NBA has to do something about it because Adam Silver can't sit there on his podium and say, it's going to happen. The teams are going to tank. No, you can control that. You're the commissioner of the league. You can make decisions or at least try things to prevent teams from tanking. You can't sit there and tell me there's not a solution. Yes, there is. Put in some legwork. Start pumping. Let's go. Get rid of tanking. Gotta stop. The White Sox, Jay saying the White Sox like Luis Angel Acuna, who they acquired in the Luis Robert trade with the Mets. GM Chris Getz is a big fan. At least 4 times has referred to his new infielder as a switch hitter, even though he's not a switch hitter. Another GM not knowing what he's doing this time in baseball. Man, dude, just let me be a general manager. Let me be a general manager of the NFL. I could solve like 5 teams' problems. I'll actually do that video. What I would do if I was GM of blank. I'll do a what if I was the GM, because I should be. I should be the GM. Okay, I should be the GM of so many different teams. Work, do it. I would be amazing. Bring me in at least like a scout. See what I got. See what ball knowledge I have. Now, I gotta close out with one big topic that I have been thinking about recently, ever since my boy Sam Darnold won the Super Bowl. Sam Darnold won the Super Bowl. Not only did he win the Super Bowl, completely revitalized his career from bust to, we can say, I would say top 10 quarterback. So how he's done it. Baker Mayfield's been another guy who's turned around his career. Smith has been another guy. You can even argue Ryan Tannehill, Tennessee, and Jones, who we'll get into it. Guys have surfaced and changed their career. So, what other guys can do this? What other quarterbacks can turn it around and remove the bust label from their name? And we're about to find out, because there's a couple options. So I got inspired by this because I think there are some interesting options I want to. There are some interesting. I think definitely come. Now there's a few. Let me start with the obvious one that's already on the way there. Daniel Jones. One. Daniel Jones already gotten on the path, escaping his, gotten another chance, did well, got hurt. We're winning football games. They didn't win a game without him. I think what Daniel Jones can do and turn around, that one fascinates me. Another one, Mac Jones. Saw what Mac could do Cisco when Brock Purdy was out. Saw him play much better ball than late stint in New England, Jacksonville Jaguars. I think there's opportunity there. I think Mac Jones has some size on him. I think he's more of a pocket passer. He's not as mobile, but I think there will be opportunity for him to. Another guy, Richardson, option. And I'm going to say this. I think talent-wise, he has it, but there's a lot of things in play. One, always hurt. Hurt a lot. 2, that last time, main thing he's known for is, I was kind of tired. I needed a break. That, to me, doesn't scream a guy who has the capability to around. I think you have to be fully committed 100%. I think as one of the personalities where likable guy and he's a guy who was resilient. For Anthony Richardson, kind of have that mentality of I'm a little not right now. I don't buy into that as much. So I would have to probably say now one that a lot of people like already is Willis. And I would say for him to turn it around, the right get a system athleticism, because when he comes into the game for Green Bay, they don't play the same game they would if like Jordan. They play a very different game. Run heavy. They go around these sweeps around the edge. A lot of these different things. I would say Malik has a shot if he's in the right system. And then I'm like looking, there are a couple other guys. Zach Wilson. Then there's Zach Wilson, who also is, to me, the same category as Richardson. Kind of says the wrong things on the mic. I'd also probably say no. I mean, talked about, did you let your defense down because you? Yeah, no. I don't think Zach Wilson who can. The one other guy that I don't think we're mentioning, talking about enough, is Will Levis. So Will Levis, I mean, he's still on the Titans, but at this point, looking at Will, because Will's got arm strength. Will has a cannon. And I think there's still potentially there. But the problem, and the reason why I say that is because Will Levis, like, the mistakes he was making, that can be removed with proper coaching. Like, you can coach those mistakes out of him. He gets the right guy. I think Will Levis in 3-4 years will have a second career stint opportunity. Will be able to actually get things done. I think that you can coach out of. That you can coach. You can coach out of bad decisions. But you can't teach to. Leadership's very hard to teach. You kind of either got it or you don't. And I just got the way Anthony Richardson and Zach Wilson compose themselves, even most recently with Zach, his comments about not being starter over Quinn Ewers, right? It just doesn't scream like a leadership guy to me. So I'd say they'd probably be out. I like Malik Willis's chances. I like Will Levis' chances if he gets the right coach in like 4 years. And then, of course, Daniel Jones and Mac Jones already kind of feel like they may be on their way. I mean, I think there's real opportunity for those guys. I really do. And I really, honestly, I don't mean to hate on like Richard Wilson. I want to see good quarterback play. The reality is when you don't have the personality to be able to do these things, have that leadership mentality, it makes it very hard for anyone to buy into that. And then that's tough. But for me, guys I think can turn it around. Daniel Jones, he's already on his way. Mac Jones, we saw some of it this year. Malik Willis, in the right situation, I think can work. And in a few years' time, Will Levis gets the right coach. I think with the arm talent, and I think with the ability to remove the awful mistakes he was making, I think there's opportunity there. Those guys could be pulling a Darnold in the future. Will they be winning a Super Bowl? Maybe not. But I think they can definitely get their careers turned around and him become Pro Bowl level quarterbacks. And I mean genuine Pro Bowl level quarterbacks, not like garbage Pro Bowl we have. And go from there. And I hope so, honestly. I would be so happy if I'm right on. I would cash that and take it to the bank. And with that, this episode of Free Refill has come to its conclusion. Episode 43 is in the books. It says I'm streaming on the Shorts thing. I don't know. Maybe I was. Maybe I wasn't. I'll have to go back and see what even happened to see if that was working. If it was, great. And if it wasn't, that's a darn shame. But I appreciate you guys for tuning in. I appreciate you guys waiting for half an hour as I struggled to get back, but able to get back and do an episode. Let me just round it out with the chat, and then I'll leave you guys to your own devices, and I will see you guys probably this weekend. I might have something planned, so be on the lookout. No guarantees, though. I'm not guaranteeing that, but there might be something this weekend, so be on the lookout for that. Let me also say, and we got Anthony Richardson. Let's give Anthony Richardson his round of applause. Making it out. Saying that he'll work for food, even the Jets. You know what, Anthony? Go give it out. Give the Jets a shot, man. Give the Jets a shot. You can do anything if you put your mind to it. Also, if you stop taking so many naps, that would help. And then Mark saying, "Yo, Jeremy Sochan announced he was coming to the Knicks with a TikTok of world T-shirts signing New York." Oh, singing. Gosh, coming to the Knicks with a TikTok of world of T-shirts singing New York by Jay-Z and Alicia. Wow, what an entrance. What an entrance just to have a plus minus of like 14. Yeah, and Kat responded with, "No way, this is how I find out." Oh my gosh. No, yeah, you're saying it wrong. It's like, "No way, this is how I found out." Yes. It's like every time Kat does. Oh my. Cat. The little cat queen. Yeah, you know how it is. Anyway, that's all I have for you guys. So I hope you guys enjoy this evening, and I hope you guys enjoy your Friday tomorrow, and hopefully maybe I'll see you this weekend for some. I think I might be gaming a little bit. I might just be playing some video game. Finally, you can just maybe chillax for one weekend. Nice. It'd be nice to have that, you know. So I will see you guys this weekend. If not, I will see you guys Monday. Thank you all for tuning in, and thank you for joining for Rephil episode 43. I will see y'all next time.